The Completionist Escape, a very prestigious accomplishment within RuneScape with some pretty particles at the bottom of the cape. But is it actually worth your time getting this cape? Is this the grind for you? And what did I think about my grind? Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name's Chevalric and today we're going to be talking about the Completionist Escape, if this is a grind for you, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and well, some requirements, yeah, we know. But we're going to be talking about all of it in this video. It's just going to be my opinion on my current grind on the Completionist. As of me making this video, I am about 10 days away from actually getting my Completionist Escape on the 12th of November at 8 PM European time, 7 PM UK time, 2 PM EST time, and whatever that works out for you, go figure it out. I'll be getting my Completionist Escape live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ChevalricRS. And yeah, I thought it would be a perfect time for me to actually make a video on my experience getting a Completionist Escape and the good, the bad, the ugly, and if it should be for you. I do want to say though, everyone plays this game in their own way. Everyone has their own, interest within RuneScape. So I can't tell you exactly if this is the grind for you. However, maybe by telling you my experiences with it and giving my opinions on it, you could actually decide for yourself if you should be going for it. Kind of, spoiler, it's a lot of fun. Like, I at least enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, if you're going to enjoy the video, definitely go give it a like. Subscribe if you are new or still trying to get as close to 2K subscribers as humanly possible by the end of the year. Comment, join in the discussion down below. If you're going for Completionist Escape, let me know. If you've had your Completionist Escape for a little while, let me know as well. What are some of the requirements that you hated, that you, didn't mind so much, and, your overall opinions, and let's just get into it. So, first things first, Completionist Escape versus Trim Completionist Escape. I'm not gonna mansplain to you what a comp cape is or Trim Completionist Escape is, but more so the spirit of it. I feel like the Completionist Escape spirit and the thought behind it, and that's kind of how I saw it on, some social medias that I checked as well, and kind of just a general concern about a Completionist Escape is that you interacted with most content in the game and that you completed the majority of it, but not everything. And that trimmed is more so you're gonna be completing everything. So for example, if you have a reward shop, you'll be completing, if it's like 3 tiers. For Completionist Escape, you will complete all the tier 1s, and for trimmed, you will complete all the tier 3s. That is kind of the idea between Completionist and Trimmed Completionist. Completionist, you really know how the content works. You can tell someone, oh yeah, I've done this. I've done Mage Training Arena. I know how it works. And someone that has Trimmed Completionist Escape actually has fully 100% completed it. Obviously, that's not the case with all the requirements. I know that, but that's kind of like the, bare bones, difference between those two capes, and kind of how at least the majority of the community, at least from what I've read online, is seeing it. And that is also kind of how I see it. And that's kind of how I see certain requirements being, very fitting, but also not very fitting. So we'll be going over the good, the bad, the ugly, and just some other odd, things that I've observed over my grind getting the Completionist Escape, because there have been some odd things that I've figured out that don't make sense, but we'll get into it. First of all, let's start with the positive about the Completionist Escape. I think there's a lot of requirements that are perfect for Completionist Escape, and that to me really make sense and are a perfect example of what a completionist grind or a completionist requirement should be. A good example is something like Absolute Planker. You're probably thinking, what is this? Well, Absolute Planker is with the construction minigame. I actually don't know. It's construction contract, but I don't know if it has the name like Mahogany Homes, like it does in old school RuneScape. But it's pretty much a minigame where you get a task, you need to build some furniture in someone's house, and then you go back and you get some points. The requirement is to upgrade your plank box to the maximum, but that is not unlocking everything from the shop, because there's an entire outfit that you can get as well, and some other, I think it's just the outfit really besides the plank box, that you can get from the store, but you only have to get the plank box, which is 100 contracts, which I think is perfect, because I've done the content, I've grinded out, it isn't just handed out to me, easily. Like, I actually had to do some work, it took me a couple of hours, and boom, I understand the content, I will always know how the content works, and that's a good completionist requirement. The same goes with Dinosaur Hunter and, catching all the implings. You've interacted with the content and, you've done it. You haven't, fully grinded out the collection log or full reward shop, but you know how it works. You've slain 8 dinosaurs and you pretty much know how the mechanics of that works. The same with all the imp links, like, you've interacted with it. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's not something you could do, like, in 10 minutes, like the imp links especially, but, you know, you've interacted with it. And I think that is just kind of, like, the spirit of it. And the same goes with, like, some other, like, more quest-related ones, like collecting the memory crystals, or, you know, there's some extra lore that you need to explore after quest and other post-quest things that you would normally never do, but the Completionist Cape gets you to actually do it. And yeah, they're not usually the most fun things to do, and no, they're also not all the Master Quest Cape requirements, but, you know, you are getting acquainted with what it would be like going for the Master Quest Cape, which is, you know, interacting with all the post-quest stuff and, you know, unlocking all the mini-quests and everything that comes with quests and all the special rewards and challenges and everything like that. But it's not like everything. You get a good idea of, oh, these are some things that I can encounter when going for the Master Quest Cape and that you would normally really not do. And I think that is the perfect encapsulation of what the Completionist Cape is and should be, at least in my opinion. And even the Wildy event, even though it's slightly time-gated, I think having to do all of the Wildy events, at least one for the comp requirement, obviously I made an entire video on this, but at least once is a good example as well of a comp requirement, because, you know, it's doing the actual content, you know how all the little events work, and, you know, you're familiar with it, you're acquainted with it, you've actually really experienced it, and it's not something that's just handed to you. That's very easy. Well, those are very easy to do, but it also takes a little bit of time. But that gets me kind of into some of the requirements, in my opinion, that I feel like are a bit outdated and makes it kind of bad. And one of them is Livid Farm. Livid Farm feels very clunky and is super slow, and you could say, well, that's the part of Completionist. Like, it shouldn't be a handout, it shouldn't be too easy, and I agree with that, but because there are livid plants that you can even get on an Ironman by the Traveling Merchant that gives you a buttload of Livid Farm points, kind of like AFK, like, it's like a time-gated requirement without being a time-gated requirement, if that makes sense. Like, you can grind out Livid Farm, but it's very tedious. It feels very clunky, at least in my opinion. And it's just very, very slow. So you're better off just, whilst going for the other requirements, getting your Livid Plants from the Traveling Merchant, and then getting the points that way. And then when you're going to comp, you will never interact with the content. And I don't think that's good. I don't think they should remove the Livid Plant, because it also really helps out, like Iron Man, for example, or just people that don't go for the comp requirement but still want to unlock something like Disruption Shield. But it just feels a bit clunky and outdated. Like, I was like, I wouldn't mind doing it, so I started doing it because I kind of wanted to, like, challenge myself with the Livid Farm and, you know, really go to a completionist grind like that. But then I realized that, like, it is so ridiculously slow and it feels so clunky that I was like, yeah, I get why people just use the Livid Plant. And that's not good. Like, it's a shame of that piece of content. That kind of makes the requirement redundant. That kind of goes with the Mage Training Arena as well. It feels really clunky. Like, I think that the requirement of getting bones to Peaches is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good comp requirement. However, it feels really clunky and it's just really buggy at some points, especially the telekinetic room. I could sometimes literally click like 10 times to walk somewhere. My marker would just literally be on a spot where it should be walking, and my character would just be standing still, and it just feels really clunky and buggy, as I said. And I don't mind it, and someone who's going for the Completion Escape in general, I don't think really minds it. But the problem more so is you also got to understand that, you know, maybe someone who's like more new to the game, that has never interacted with the older content like Mage Training Arena, would, you know, be like, oh, let's, you know, go to do some completionist requirements, starts with the Mage Training Arena and thinks, bro, this is really clunky and buggy. Do I need to do all this old content? And then, you know, it's kind of turned off by it. I know that's a very niche example, but I don't know. It just really is just to me, really. And the same with the Sinkhole Diary requirement. And I know there's not that many requirements that require you to do anything with other people, but I really struggled finding people at, you know, the times I was playing. Like, I had to do it at night in a weekend with people from my stream to be able to find a group for the Sinkhole requirement. And I had to ask them if they couldn't do anything so I could actually get my 20 resources, because everyone who's doing sinkholes on a normal basis are really, really good at it. And I don't know why, but it was really difficult for me to get it, and it could have literally locked me out of Completion Escape if I wasn't a streamer slash YouTuber, because there were just no people there. And imagine if you can only play at specific times, you might not even be able to get that requirement for the medium diaries of Demonheim. But that's just something that I just don't like, is requirements that you need to relate for other people. Like, you need to rely on other people to be able to complete it. Going into the bad requirements, however, and that's something I think a lot of people will agree with, is time-gated ones. I don't necessarily, like, hate time-gated, like, fully. Like, I understand the time-gated requirements. Like, I put ports in my, you know, time-gated, I don't like this requirement one. But at the same time, I know that's kind of how the, like, content works. And I know you need to interact with that content. But it would be so nice if there would be a way to kind of, like, spend some, like, massive money on it. To kind of, like, speed it up just a little bit. Because ports literally takes months and months and months. And for someone who's just going for a completion escape and doesn't really know about that requirement, isn't aware that it literally takes months to complete it. Imagine if you go for it and then, you know, you've all your requirements done. And then you figure out that ports actually takes months and you're just locked out of it because of that. And you could say, well, you need to do research before and blah, blah, blah. But shouldn't you just be able to just knock out all the requirements without having to be doing, like, in-depth research, like you're some sort of, like, archaeologist trying to figure out how to do all these old pieces of content? Like, I don't really like it for that sense, but I also still really do get it, because that's just kind of how the content works, I guess. But it's still very poopy, in my opinion. Another one that I think is just bad and just makes no sense, in my opinion, it is time-gated just to be time-gated, is Mirq and Memoriam. Why do I have to wait 10 days? If you don't know how this requirement works, it's a mini quest regarding the Mirq questline, which you pay respect to all the Mirq members, which I think is sick. But you need to build these statues, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But you need to wait 10 days before you can build each statue. Like, every single day a plinth will spawn where you can build a statue on. Why? Like, why are you locking this for 10 days? Like, it makes no sense at all. Let's say that someone, again, wants this to be their last requirement. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to be maxing at the 3rd of November or whatever, or comping, whatever. And it's like, I need to all come to Canifis because it's like my favorite place, and the Mirq questline is my favorite one, and we'll do this last one and build all these statues. Starts the quest and then figures it takes 10 days. I know these are very niche examples, but it's just stupid. Like, it's time gated for no reason, in my opinion. Another one that's just very stupid is the 4,000 crocodiles. Why? That feels like more of a trimmed requirement for me, in my opinion. I feel like 1,500 or 2,000 or 1,000 crocodile points, or, well, scarabs called, I guess, makes way more sense. It's just a stupid requirement. Like, I just think it's stupid. There's nothing more to say about it, but as I said, I feel like it's more in line with the catching chompy birds from the trimmed requirement. So why is it not a trimmed requirement? Why is the common requirement? As I said, I don't mind doing it, and I get it. It's part of the completion escape. It's just my opinion. Like, I generally think those are a bit stupid. And lastly, I kind of want to get... This video is getting actually quite long. I'm really sorry. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Kind of other odd things that I observed throughout my kind of like grind that didn't make much sense to me. Like, for example, the elite diaries for the desert, and obviously the hard ones as well, with the Dominion Tower. I think the Dominion Tower requirement of getting the 500 kills, pretty much unlocking pretty much everything in that reward shop, does make sense for a completionist requirement. Like, I think that is a perfect example, again, of a completionist requirement. It is a piece of content you would otherwise never do, but because you're going for completion escape, you're doing it. And as I said, it doesn't make it a good requirement or a fun requirement, but I think it's a fitting completionist requirement. However, I don't think it makes sense for a diary requirement. Like, that diary is so much more tedious and difficult than the majority of all the other diaries, that it just makes no sense to me. Like, they should at least do like half the kills, or 250 kills instead of the 500 kills, and like half the reward shop unlocked for the elite ones, because it just makes no sense to me. Like, I think it's just overkill for a diary, and makes it so like a casual player would never really complete those diaries, and that's, I feel like, why a lot of casual players don't complete that diary, just because of that fact, and I don't think that's a good case. Like, as I said, it's a perfectly fine comp requirement, but it just doesn't make sense for the diaries. Same kind of goes for the Mauritania diary task. By the way, if you've done the Mauritania task, is it just me, or does that one feel so much more, like, expansive than all the other ones that are there? Like, I feel like you need to do so many more things for that diary. Like, besides the temple tracking that you need to do, you also need to do like 200 fire, Like, I feel like every diary has like one grindy task, and I feel like the Mauritania diary has like multiple ones that are like a bit grindy, and it makes no sense to me. Like, it feels very out of line compared to all the other ones, but that's just my opinion. But even then again, with the temple tracking, like completing temple tracking fully, yet again, is a perfect completionist requirement, but I just feel like it doesn't really fit in with the elite diary requirements, especially not with other elite diaries within RuneScape, like the Falador ones, the Camelot ones, the Chevalric ones. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Same arguments as Dominion Tower. Also, why are not all the mini quest comp requirements, but just a select few? I have like 8, 9 mini quests left to do that are not part of Completion Escape. Why are they not part of Completion Escape? Like, I don't get it. Just add them in. Like, add all mini quests to be Completion Escape, because you need to get the Questscape. Why shouldn't I not have to complete all the mini quests? And lastly, some descriptions are very fake and you need to wiki it. I don't like that. I feel like everything and all the information should always be in the game. Potion Master, for example, says unlock all the recipes in Lady Melweir's potion shop, which I did. And then I talked to her and was like, hey, let's talk about potions, and went through all the dialogue options and didn't get my requirement. Then I went to the wiki and it said that I had to have a grand melee potion in my inventory whilst talking to her and having everything unlocked. That didn't say it anywhere in the game. That makes no sense. Like, that information should be in the game, and there's probably more requirements like that, because I use the wiki for everything, that are very unclear like that and should be a bit more, you know, should be cleared up, at least in my opinion. And that is pretty much everything that I kind of want to be going over. I could talk about this for like an hour straight, but I don't want to bore you guys even longer. But yeah, for me, I had a lot of fun going for Completion Escape. I had a lot of fun going through all these like different pieces of content that I would otherwise never interacted with. And that's cool. I like that. But it's not for everyone. I get that as well. Like, it's not for everyone. There's barely any PVM stuff. So if you're really into PVM, I understand it. Like, the best one is Famous, but the hardest challenge there is a rack store. And if you start with it, the rest is easy. The rest is like Giant Ball, God Force Dungeon 1, DK. It's like the older bosses. So yeah, it's fun. At least in my opinion. I'll probably never go for Trimmed because I think it looks very ugly. And there's no point for me going for it. But yeah, I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what requirements you liked, hated, think that should be updated, and how you agree or disagree with the things that I said in this video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys hopefully on the 12th November on my stream, and otherwise in the next episode of The Completionist, which will come out in just a few days on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and my name is Chevalric, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye!